Parental care is a part of a lot of different mating systems in the animal world, and it evolves for a variety of reasons, including really harsh environments, or if there's high levels of predation or increased competition among individuals of the same species. And it basically just serves to ensure the survival of the offspring. But in cases where there are parental care, sometimes there can be this little thing called filial cannibalism, which is where a parent will actually consume their own offspring. And while this might seem a little bit counterintuitive, if you're taking care of your babies, why are you eating them? It can be beneficial sometimes when in situations such as nesting, the parent can't leave the area for any sort of resources. So this can increase the survival of the remaining offspring, or it could increase reproductive output in the future for the parent. So another thing that's kind of important sometimes with nest guarding is territoriality. So that's just kind of a contest over territory or resources. And things like morphological features can influence territoriality. So things like how big you are or whether or not you have weaponry can influence how you're able to actually continue to hold on to a resource or an area. So maritime earwigs are actually really great for studying these concepts because they lay a nest that they guard very aggressively, and there's really clear differences between the sexes in both size, weaponry, and behavior. So you can kind of see here my little diagrams. So for this particular study, what I was doing was I was trying to figure out what behaviors were changing in maternal guarding earwigs based on different intruders based on their size and sex. So I spent the summer in Washington where I took mother earwigs and then I exposed them to a variety of intruders, and then I videoed all their interactions overnight, and then I've just been working on quantifying all of their behaviors to determine what some differences are and how they react to those. So I only have some preliminary results, but right now we're seeing there's some really interesting behavioral changes based on the type of intruders that they are exposed to. Such as larger intruders are way better at taking over nest than smaller ones, and then mothers actually weren't consuming their eggs as often as we thought they did in nature. So this study is just going to provide some really interesting information regarding filial cannibalism, territoriality, and parental care and how they all work together. And then we also will provide a really nice foundation for future studies, not only on this particular species, but in all research of parental care. So yeah, thank you.
All right, questions for Jean? You, right up front.
So, we talked about these kinds of stressors that the mothers can undergo. What kind of stressors are you specifically having? Is it just intruders, or are there other stressors you're subjecting them to?
Yeah, so it's just intruders. So what we did was I kind of set up a bin where there was like a mother and her nest on one side of it, and then we would just like put an intruder in on the other side and leave the room and record them overnight. So it was just like an earwig versus an earwig. And then so I'm just working through all those videos trying to figure out how they respond and then how they interact with all of that. So yes.
So is it only male intruders, or are you also?
So we did both sexes, and then within those two sexes we did 3 different size categories. So we did whether they were smaller than the mother, whether they were the same size, or whether they were larger. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a loud voice, I can just shout.
Maybe go first and then next.
Okay, so I just was curious, why do you think they're not eating their eggs as much as you had previously?
That's such a great question. So a lot of times we were assuming that they were eating their eggs pretty frequently because we were handling them a lot and trying to collect them. But it also turns out that like they're way more just regularly cannibalistic than we thought. So the intruders were really, really, really wanting to get in there and eat the eggs, even when they were like fully satiated when I was feeding them. So yeah, that's something that I'm really interested, because previously we thought they kind of did it when, so they live on the beach, and so we thought maybe it had to do with sort of like moisture, humidity, whether they had enough like area surrounding them. But yeah, I really don't know. It's really not something that I was expecting to find when I was going through this. So yeah.
Hello. So I'm curious about the finding you have with mothers others leave their nesting area and stop guarding more often than previously known.
Yeah.
And so in relation to that, do you think that that's down to the fact that they're in a controlled environment in a lab, and so maybe they feel more comfortable leaving? And I guess that's a clarification question from the person.
Yeah.
That they are in a lab setting.
Yeah, so they were in sort of like one of the container bins that you like put your Christmas ornaments in at the end of the year, so just like a plastic bin. What it did seem like though was like they do tend to go out and explore a bit more, and then they would like return back to their nest. So it could be just that they were in a laboratory environment, but they definitely even like were going out and exploring more and looking around more than we thought they ever would, because we really just thought they were staying in one area like on top of their nest and never moving, but they were like going out and it seemed like antenating or like using their antenna to like investigate things. So it definitely is something that we can't necessarily say it's not due to that, but it's still initially there's a lot more than we thought. Yeah.